Here is a comic about construction cost estimating. The client approached Dilbert, saying, I need a budget estimate for my project, but I don't have a scope or a design for it yet. Then Dilbert says, okay, my estimate is $3,583,729. Then the owner looks pretty upset, saying, you don't know anything about my project. Then Dilbert says, that makes two of us. So hopefully for this comic, you guys can understand the importance of having a project scope before you can have a cost estimate. At least you have to have a rough scope before you can come up with any cost estimate. Cost estimating is not just one-time activity. You have to do multiple times, and at different stage there are different purposes for those cost estimate. The first one is during sponsors studies, you try to come up with a budget for the owner to help them to establish the cost budget. Once the preliminary design is done, the engineer is going to have another estimate, try to help the owner to better understand where the project budget stands. Then when the design is 100% done, the engineer is going to have their engineer cost estimate, which is here, right over here. Then by the end of the procurement, contractors are going to have another cost estimate, which is the construction cost estimate for the actual construction part. So for different cost estimate purposes, we have different types of cost estimating approach. Here we are going to talk about 4 different types of estimates. The first one is order of magnitude. Second, square foot and cubic foot estimate. Third, assembly. The last one is unit price estimates. So for the first 2 are typically used at early phase of a project. Sometimes people call it conceptual cost estimate. Then for the last 2 are detailed cost estimate, usually used for the project stage when the design is 100% done, or we can call it detailed cost estimate. So the first one is called rough order of magnitude estimate, or you can call it educated guess or guess estimate, because people typically use their previous experience try to help you to identify what the cost would be. You know, sometimes you will just tell people, okay, I try to build a hospital and I have square footage for it, or maybe this is a building for the bank, or maybe this is a building for a restaurant. And you can come up with a really simple sketch or concept based on the estimator's experience and comparison with the similar projects. He or she can come up with the cost estimate for it. And this is a really rough, quick way of coming up with a cost estimate. And obviously, the accuracy for this type of cost estimate is not going to be very high. Again, the accuracy here, we are talking about the deviation of the cost estimate versus the actual construction cost when the project is done, the actual project cost. So in terms of rough order of magnitude estimate, people always use RS means to do that, or maybe if you already have your historical cost database, you can always use that to come up with your cost estimate. Here, I just want to point out a few examples. Here, this is the auto sale with the repair, and based on the square footage, and there's a unit cost for different disciplines. So for example, here, $98.5 for the architectural portion of the construction cost, then plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and this is the total project cost. And since the rough order of magnitude is the number is the precision is pretty rough. So in RS means it has a different types of unit cost. So for example, this is the 25 percentile, there's the different unit cost for that. And then this is a median. Median is saying 50% of the time the project is going to be under this unit cost, or 50% of the time the unit cost is going to be above such number. So they also have 3 quartile. So for the square foot and cubic foot cost estimate, the approach is very similar, but this one will have a little more information for the estimator to come up with the estimate. And oftentimes for the square foot and cubic foot estimate, we use an earlier phase of the project. During the schematic design stage, you can use that. And we use this approach to come up with the budget for the owner. Typically, the approach in terms of calculation-wise, which is very similar to the previous rough order magnitude. And historical data is plentiful, but estimator should always use their own. Of course, you can always try to find some manual, but each contractor's methods, the way they run their business, their productivity can be very different. So if you have your own data, your own historical data will be more helpful than try to come up with try to reference to some other cost manual. So this is one example of square foot and cubic foot estimate, and I also got this example from the RSMeans. So this is the cost estimate for apartment 1 to 3 story, and you can see here it also has the unit cost for different square foot area, and in terms of different exterior wall type, you can come up with the cost estimate by referencing the unit cost corresponding to the type of apartment you are looking for. So for this specific case, we have wood frame, and the exterior wall is fiber cement, and then based on the square footage of the apartment, as well as the linear feet of the perimeter of this building, you can find the corresponding unit cost, and the calculation is just the unit cost times the square footage of the building. Then you can come up with the cost. That's the square foot and the cubic foot cost estimate.